Today, we're going to be talking with Hollywood insider Kamran Pacha, and we're going to be discussing Greta Garbo. We actually have a series going on this channel, so I hope that you will enjoy today's talk. And the next movie on the list here is A Woman of Affairs.
Yeah.
And before I get into it, we talked just a tiny bit about it before, but what are your overall thoughts about this movie, especially compared to her others?
Well, yeah, this is a more complex plot. We're going to talk about that, right? But also her character is more complex because for a long time, you think she's playing the standard fallen woman that she's been playing a lot in her career, right?
Yes.
But it's not quite that way, or at least it's more complicated than that, right? Uh, and
Yes.
uh, and also, I think, and we're going to talk when we get to her scenes. I actually think that the actress that was up with her, is one of the strongest actresses that we've seen so far. That really,
Yes.
one actress who plays Constance, is really is
Yes.
one. I mean, she's had strong male leads, but I
Yeah.
think in this movie we've had a real love triangle with a strong female lead. That's
Oh
opposite.
yeah, I agree 100%. This was one of those movies for me where yeah, it was like peeling an onion because I didn't
Mhm.
really understand what was happening just yet,
Yeah,
but still willing to stick in there with it because it's well edited. What I have to say, there's a lot of visual storytelling,
yeah.
but also a lot of rating in this one that to really get the subtleties of it. If you miss some cards, you might just miss the whole story.
Yeah, exactly. This is an example of and I mean, maybe it's to the credit of the other of the silent films you've seen of hers is that you were largely able to follow what's going on just from the visuals. Can't
Yes.
really do that here. You can see that there's emotion in the scenes, right? Because obviously these are all incredible actors, right? But
Yes, yes.
the story context, even following the cards, can be a little complicated, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
and we can talk about why they hold back a lot of information. They use a lot of euphemisms and they
Yes.
aren't clear about things. And again, this is the 20s, so you would think that it's still the roaring 20s. There's some really great roaring 20s fashion in this, right?
Yes.
But
Mhm.
they seem to be at least this production seems to be a little nervous, more so than you would expect in the 20s.
Mhm.
This is before the Hays Code, of morality of what you can and cannot say or do. And the silent films were often very shocking as to what was allowed to be seen here. And here they seem almost like uncomfortable with the salacious issues that are hidden in the story,
Mm.
right? They seem,
Mhm. Yeah.
and so because they seem unwilling to really say them out loud, you have to kind of figure it out.
It really is, and this is just the card to set you up. John Gilbert is in this again with
Yeah,
Greta Garbo, who's in
and
several
we
of her
see they have
movies.
equal billing this time. We've noticed in the earlier stuff he was top billing because she was an up and comer. Then she became top billing, and it's interesting that in this film they're equal billing and he comes first. So
Yes,
so
very,
maybe that
very
he's experiencing a
interesting.
bit more resurgence with the audience, and that's where the producers might have gone that way.
A story from Michael Arlen and Continuity by Bess Meredith. And we had talked about this before. There was a lot of women working behind the scenes on a lot of these
Yeah.
movies at this time. So that was very interesting to see. And the cast Diana is going to be the name of the main character here, played by Greta Garbo. Neville, also called Nevs, is played by John Gilbert, main love interest here, and Hugh is a friend of the family of Diana's family that is a supporter, and I
He's a
would say
doctor. He's a doctor,
yeah,
right?
like
Yeah.
a father figure too, like an uncle almost. David is a love interest in the movie,
Mhm.
played by John Mac Brown. Jeffrey, who I really wanted was play is Diana's brother, is
Mhm.
played by Douglas Fairbanks Jr.,
And
which I was
he's one of early Hollywood royalty. So his father's Douglas Fairbanks Sr. and
yes,
mother is Mary Pickford, right? So we're
yes,
talking about the founders of Hollywood, and he
hmm
is their child. And
yeah.
and and
They
he does a great job in this film.
I think so. You can see all the, his talent. There's one moment where he has like a physical kind of, he jumps over something, and I'm
Sure.
like, wow, okay, you should take that from your father, I guess, because Douglas Fairbanks Sr. Did a lot of his own stunts, and he was really incredibly charismatic on screen. If you ever get a chance to see Thief of Baghdad, that's like one of his big movies that he was just so charismatic
Exactly.
in.
And
Um,
that's very personal for me because I actually was working on a remake. There's been several Thief of Baghdad movies that were made, and I was
really?
actually approached to work on a modern version of it that would have been set in post-war Iraq or during the Iraqi War, the American War in Iraq in the 2000s, right? And
Oh,
so
wow.
children that were escaped the war by going into this miraculous world of genies, right? And it never quite came together. But so yeah, and so I had to go back and research the original films, and there was Douglas Fairbanks Jr., right?
Oh, yes. Oh my goodness. That sounds like it would have been really a treat to watch. And we had already talked about Constance, Dorothy Sebastian,
Mhm.
who we'll get to see a little bit of her
Yeah,
part, but
yeah. I
she
mean, I
is.
want to find out more about her because she's such a good actress, and she
Oh
really
yeah,
held her
and
own with Greta Garbo and John Gilbert. I mean, she really was their equal in this movie.
yes, and had such again a charisma on
Hmm.
screen, and
Yes.
perfect for this role. So it begins the story of a gallant lady, a lady who was perhaps foolish and reckless beyond need, but withal a very gallant lady. Um,
And I didn't understand why they were calling her that. By the end of the movie, you kind of understand why they use this phrasing.
Yes, yeah, it's very masculine, I would say
Mhm.
that shows a lot of the things. And there's a few moments in which she is kind of referred to as sort of a gentlemanly
Yeah.
in that fashion. They start this off with um her recklessly driving
Yeah, I mean, that was kind
through.
of a scary scene. I mean, she's driving like a maniac, and I mean, I don't know how they filmed it. She drives over these workers who are working in a ditch, and they all duck
Yes.
as she drives over them. I mean, that's a kind of a dangerous stunt.
Yeah, and there were no, official regulations at that
Yeah,
time. So
I mean,
this,
we've got some of the classic silent films where people are just like risking their lives. This is the first time. I mean, we actually noticed there was that movie where she fell in the ice flows at the end of the
yes,
film. That was
yeah,
kind of a dangerous stunt too, right?
yes,
But
it
this is like a
was.
lot of people could have been killed by this.
Yes, it really speaks of, when they say this foolish, gallant, kind of character. There she is, and she's the one who's driving. So of the mad Merricks, only two were left, the gallant lady and her brother Geoffrey. Let us first consider Geoffrey, idealist, hero worshiper.
And so that's Douglas Fairbanks Jr. So we first get introduced to him here, and he's with his best friend Johnny Mac Brown, is playing David Furness. Yeah, I have to be honest. This is a kind of a little bit of a creepy relationship, there's hero worship. Jeffrey's clearly in awe, and I kind of got the vibes a little bit in love with David, right? I think that's kind of
Totally.
well hidden, right? There seems
Yeah.
to be more than a friendship, at least on his end.
Yeah, I think so. And we see that Jeffrey is just drinking his life away. And David is very concerned for him and trying to get him to stop. There's sort of a competition here, or sort of like this thing. He says, I haven't caught up with dad yet. He drank 2 bottles a day until he died. And
Yeah.
so there is a history of the Merricks in particular that have been, I don't want to call them drunks, but that's what they were, I suppose, of people who drank a lot, possibly to the point of dying. There are a few chaps in the world as fine as you, David. I'm just a Merrick. Our men all die drunkards. And so there's this impression of a family legacy of people who are reckless and
Yeah,
drink a
but they're also
lot.
very wealthy. So
Yeah.
these are people that are sort of, I guess, heirs. They're the archetype of the profligate heirs, right? You would think of like some of the Hilton generations, the later
Yes. Yeah.
generations, right, who are living off the wealth and living very hedonistic.
So he's looking at the bottle and he's looking at his friend David. He's like, I really want to be like David. So he says, I want to be like you, David. To me, you always stood on for decency. And that word is going to come up again, decency, and associated with David in particular. We go back to the couple in the car, Nevs and Diana. They stop at this tree, this huge tree that it reminds them of their childhood. And we get a little flashback of of them as kids, and
They're all
that
they're on bikes. I mean, these little kids are pretty good actors, right?
I
I thought the little
know.
girl playing young Greta Garbo's character was very good. And they're like,
Yes.
they're like bicycling away, and then she hits a tree, and then she pretends to be knocked out because she wants Nevs to play the knight in shining armor and rescue her and whatever. There's this great little moment where she's pretending to be fainted or injured, right? And he's holding her, and he looks up, and the moment he looks up, the little girl looks up, makes sure he's looking at her, and then closes her eye again. It was very well done acting for a little child.
Yes.
He made everything you needed in that moment.
It did, and we get this. She says, when we were children, you and David and I. So David is the other little boy in the picture, but even then, I loved you.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, and the part that I didn't get was that she said that she wanted to eventually marry him. Her plan was to marry him. She finally makes it over to Jeffrey's place. He is mad because she's very late. David has been waiting for you since 7:00, and he's rowing for Cambridge tomorrow. And I suppose that's Cambridge College or Cambridge University.
This is set in Britain, so it's not Cambridge as in Massachusetts, Harvard, or whatever, MIT. This is set in Britain, so this must be Cambridge University. Yeah.
Cambridge University.
They're on like the Thames or whatever the river is. It's by Cambridge. I don't know.
Yes, and so I was like, okay, so these guys are super rich, and they're from a certain level of opulence. In their day in Britain. David is like, oh, don't worry about it, but she's like, no, Jeffrey's right. I shouldn't have kept you waiting. It was beastly of me. And this term beastly it also comes up a lot in the story as in relation to her actions, it seems. And David's like so sweet. He doesn't care. He's like, I just want to spend time with you guys. So he likes her a lot, and you can see that she likes him too. But as I think we're very well aware that she really has it for Neville. The next day, he's rowing in this competition, and everybody's gathered around to watch this competition. And to understand the Merricks, one must know their friends. First, there was Dr. Hugh Trevelyan, who approved of them. And here's a little shot of Dr. Hugh, who really, really is doing a lot of work. The more I've seen this movie like maybe 5 times now, and he's doing a lot of work to really help Diana. There was a Sir Morton Holderness who thoroughly disapproved of. And here he is. This is Neville's father. So as this race is happening, Diana and Nevs go away, escape into a room, and they talk. I've been offered a post with a new syndicate in Egypt. There's a chance to make a great deal of money. This is what Neville says to Diana.
This is 1928, so this is British colonialism at its height. So
yes,
they're off there sending people to do business in Egypt, which is largely stealing, like, the national treasures of Egypt and bringing them to the British Museum.
Yes, unfortunately. She immediately clocks this. She says, your father planned it deliberately to separate us. She knows exactly what this is. It's a plan to get him away from her because his father does not like her. She says, if you loved me, Neville, you'd marry me now before you go. This is now starting to feel like this movie, Torrent.
Our first movie, right? So yeah, where she offers her love innocently to a man who should have taken it, and then instead he, for family honor, well, at this moment he hasn't. At this moment he's like, yes, I'll do it.
Yes. And so we're getting that kind of beginning where we have this proposal. And the smart idea is right here. This is where things could have changed. This is the fork in the road. He says, there's something more than love, Diana. He says, there's pride, honor. You're rich, I'm poor. I couldn't live on your money. And that's true. I mean, that could drive people to a certain kind of insanity, even if they love each other. If he feels like he's inferior, it's not gonna. It might hurt their relationship.
Yeah.
So that's a real fear. And
remember, this is also Britain. So this is a very classist society. It still is, but certainly we're looking in the 20s, right? So this is a thing where your position really matters in your ability to survive in society here, right?
Yes, yeah.
I think it might be a little different in the United States. We still have a carpetbagger sort of culture, right? Where you can rise up and take what is yours. But there you have to be respectable. And what's interesting is this, it's not, she has no problem marrying someone who has less money than her and less social status, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But his family does. His family thinks that is disgraceful to try it to, it's very different because the idea of marrying up, you would think a lot of people would want to marry up into a wealthy family, but to them it's like, a man needs to be the head of the household and he needs to show that he is equal or greater value than this other family. And he doesn't have that yet.
That's something that really you have to consider from his point of view psychologically. He says, suppose I said I wouldn't wait, that I'd marry David. Oh, this is what she says to him.
What she's doing here is essentially she's giving him a subtle, not so subtle, ultimatum saying, look, if you leave, I've got this David guy who's really into me and I can marry him. So you got a choice. What do you want to do?
Yes, I love it because it was definitely manipulative. I didn't quite love it, but it was something that created like a sense of like urgency.
We're seeing character flaws in her. This is a movie that talks a lot about her having character flaws, but we don't really see them a lot, right? We have a lot of talk about them. So we see her being a little bit of a reckless driver at the beginning and kind of like manipulating him emotionally here. But she doesn't seem like a bad person. And and I think that's one of the things about this movie is it's his unwillingness to actually show her,
being the bad person,
a fallen woman, which the other movies had no problem showing her as.
Yeah. I think you're right. And maybe that was something they didn't want other women to model. Maybe that was something that they were trying to hold back on.
I found out something. Yes, I made a mistake. The Hays Code is active. In fact, so now the Hays Code, which is the morality code that they implemented because the silent films were getting out of control, right? They were doing all kinds of very, what were considered roaring 20s, sexually, inappropriate stuff, right? And storylines that were shocking to people. So, it was a form of self-censorship before the rating system, right? And so the Hays Code was active, and apparently this film specifically was targeted by the Hays Commission.
Interesting.
And we're going to talk about it more because it's based on an original story, a play, I believe, that was scandalous. It was sexually scandalous. And so the Hays Commission, when they heard this was being made, they put their lasers on this movie. So you can see, and I actually, when we get to those points, I saw that Variety and New York Times comment in 1928, Variety and New York Times comment on how the storyline was being hobbled by the Hays Code because they were taking out, they were not letting the prurience of the original story out.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to find out what that is.
We'll get to those moments, but this is so these are the things is that and by the way, the reviews all say Garbeau and Gilbert save it, right? Because the script is being attacked and is being unable to speak openly. And so here are these little moments where it's like, oh, she's a bad woman, but she's done a lot worse in other movies, right?
Yes. Oh, that's interesting. Wow. Okay, so he says, I'd marry you and choke my pride. I'd never let any other man have you. And see, she says, darling Neville, I knew that you'd say that. I don't want any other man but you. And then they dive into a salacious kiss. And then these guys are outside. Hugh is trying to make sure that the dad doesn't notice that the two have kind of gone away into the room. So he's kind of acting as guard here, which I didn't recognize until like maybe my third view that that's what he was doing. He's like, oh yeah, let's look at the game. Come on, guys, let's look at the game. He says it like twice. They're cheering on David David wins. She pulls him aside and says, it's a secret, dearest Hugh, but tomorrow night, my enemy, Sir Merton Holden, becomes my father-in-law.
So she knows his dad doesn't like her, right?
Yes, it's a war. She went, and at that moment, there's a brief moment of victory. When Neville comes home, he's greeted by his father, who is very unpleased, but also there's a lot of talking, but no words on screen. We're only given an idea of what he must be saying.
And this, I think, is part of the censorship, right? Because this is clearly there's a lot of reasons why he shouldn't marry this woman, but we're
Yes.
not allowed to hear them.
Yeah.
So
And
this is the Hays Code preventing us from hearing what her flaws are.
I did not mention this, but even in the scene where Jeffrey was confronting his sister, the same thing happened. He talks a lot, and I'm like, where's the card for this? And then we finally get a card for something else that seems strangely different than what it seemed as if he was mad about. So there's a lot of the dialogue, I think, is strangely missing. He says, "My son, I'm pleading with you. I know you'll do what's right. 10 generations are watching you."
Yeah, again, so there's a lot of reasons that he shouldn't marry her, that their family honor will be sullied, but we just don't know any of them.
We don't know any of them. And then she is waiting by the tree, blissfully thinking that she is about to be Mrs. Holderness. And Dad shows up. He says, "I don't want to hurt you, Diana, but I must tell you, Neville has left for Egypt." And she says, "You did this. You deliberately sent Neville away from me." And I sent Neville away. My son has too much pride and honor to marry a girl he can't support.
Yep.
If you love him, you won't mind waiting. What are a few years or more or less? Which is kind of true. The few years mean youth, love, dreams Neville may forget, is her answer. He says, "Frankly, I hope you both forget. I don't think a son of mine could ever be happy with a Merrick." This really sets a tone of like something must have happened prior to this, like maybe generations prior, to do with the Merricks and the Holdernesses.
Yeah, it feels like a feud because he said 10 generations.
Yes.
So it feels like a feud between their families. And there's also in that, over the course of that feud, his family has kind of, lost status over the course of that time, whereas the other ones rose in status.
Exactly. So there is history, there is beef.
Yeah.
And it's intense, and I love that because when I noticed that, it took me a couple of watches, I'm not gonna lie, and I was like, oh, so there is a family feud going on. This is deeper than just his son and a girl. You see Garbo go through the paces of emotion. And she says, finally, "Your honor is a little strange to me, but I have my honor too. I will not stand in your way." And then let me see if I have this. I hope I have the picture of it. She shakes
and they
his
have their
hand.
shaking hands.
Yes.
What I will say is this script is flawed. Again, it's because it's clearly someone is preventing it from being a script, right? And so the script is flawed. But what is effective from a screenwriter's perspective, they do a lot of setups and payoffs. So the tree is a setup. You don't understand the tree is a setup. It'll pay off at the end. These handshakes are setups. We don't know that yet, but there's a lot of the screenwriter did the best he could with a gun to his head, right? So he did a lot of other effective stuff of making the story work, right? When he couldn't say the words aloud.
Yes, and editing, I would say too, because that really helped to to kind of piece things together. Even after knowing all of this about the film, all of the drama about the film, I still enjoyed it quite a bit, and the story it had to tell. So and again, it's sort of the gentleman's handshake, which is they're both the eye contact thing. Is a very masculine thing that's going on here.
Which is interesting because she's, as usual, Greta Garbo, very beautiful and feminine, right?
Yes.
But again, this seems to be this the Hays Code letting people know that she's behaving in a masculine way. Wink, wink, wink. Right?
Yes,
doing manly things. Wink, wink, wink. That men do that women shouldn't be doing.
Yes, very much. I couldn't have said it better than that. And then she walks home alone. This is a beautiful scene. The mist is coming up. I couldn't really capture it, of course, on screen, but it is gorgeous to see with the music and everything. You see her loneliness. It's very much, she's eternally lonely. She cannot reach the man that she loves. She's cursed to walk the earth alone. And then 2 years of reckless living, the gallant lady.
Yeah, and
trying to
reckless living,
forget.
and that's all you're allowed to know what that means, right?
Yes, yes. And always there was David, faithful, secure, waiting. So this is a cute scene. He's signing in to a hotel. Oh, yes, of course. I must write in that my wife is here too.
So this is kind of their honeymoon. That's implied, right?
Their honeymoon. And this is an interesting thing here. He has a handful of rice. Yeah. And I was like, okay, is that supposed to be like, honeymoon rice? People throw.
Yeah, I mean that. I was confused by this too, but I think you just nailed it. This is I guess people throwing rice, like a marriage or throwing that. I don't know if that tradition no longer really exists. Maybe it's somewhere in the world, but that old thing that you would see, people throwing rice.
Yeah, they stopped doing it because the pigeons were dying from the rice. For some reason they were eating it and then dying. But
but I actually think there's another thing to this now that I know a little bit more about censorship.
Because they have something more too. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think the whiteness of the rice represents some kind of purity.
Ooh.
That's again their best way around censorship to say that there's something pure about this marriage, or there should be at least.
Yeah. And just in general, of course, rice at weddings is supposed to be a sign of what, not just wealth, but prosperity, family, being fertile, all those things. And it's a fresh start for this couple. So I suppose he was thinking he was going to take it in the bedroom and kind of throw it up in the air. This was going to help to bring upon a bright new future for them. He goes in there and he meets with her, but they talk just gently about her not being able to say I love you, which is, we know why. She still is in love with Neville. David I don't think he really cares. He's like, I have the girl.
He's like, I'm your husband. You should be able to say I love you, which is kind of a little bit sad.
There's a knock on the door. And
this is the beginning of this insanity that's kind of inserted into this film where I was like, what the hell's going on here, right?
Yes. So, I'm like, somebody's just like fill me in. So you see, okay, whoever's directing this, excellent work here. You see her laying in the bed and he slowly comes to the door. This is like great drama.
Yeah, it was that slow walk. We don't know who's at the door, but he seems to know who's at the door. He's anticipating something. It seems something he's afraid of, and it's a very slow walk to that. It's like almost like 30 seconds, right? And it's very tense. It felt very like Hitchcockian in some ways. Like
absolutely. And just building up this incredible tension. Then he drops the rice. So
all those symbolisms are slipping through his fingers.
Yes, all of that hope. And so handcuffs.
Yeah. So we got two guys that kind of look, like they have authority. And then you see a flash of what looks like handcuffs, right? Again, this is a confusing moment, and you see his eyes on it, right? So there seems to be some kind of a police situation happening here that he has anticipated or was afraid of. Yeah. And you're like, okay, well, where did this come from, right?
Where did it come from? Yeah.
There's been this is an example. So let's get all the way through the scene because I'll tell you what actually happened in the original story, why they couldn't do it.
Okay.
Because this is the scene that caused the Hays Commission to come after this movie.
Oh, okay. So you see him go. Okay, my credit to this actor. Yep. He goes through so many emotions. And then he gets this wild look in his eye, and then he jumps out of the window.
I mean, and that was a crazy moment where he just literally goes to the window, and it's like explicit. I mean, he's plunging. This, I don't know who. They didn't have a stuntman, so some dude's flying down multiple. I'm like, and he crashes through a roof or something. I was like, this is crazy.
Yes. I mean, it looked realistic. If they had a dummy for that okay, but it looked real. So
it looked real. It looked like a guy jumping, and maybe it wasn't this actor, right? Maybe it was a proto stuntman because I didn't really have stuntmans in those days, right? So maybe it was stuntman, and it's so you're like, what the hell is happening here? He just jumped out of a window. You don't see that coming anywhere, right? And her reaction, of course, you caught the great screenshot there. I mean, her reaction is pure Garbo brilliance, right? Just one, the complete
You
shock and
don't
horror of it.
hear her scream, but you hear her scream.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like you're like you're right there into it. You're like, oh my God, what a, and the widow of David Furness faced a questioning world. Why would a man happy as David take his own life?
All right, so now I'll tell you what was the original story. So the original story
Oh boy.
was a novel. It was a novel called The Green Hat. That was a very popular novel, and it was a
Oh,
risque novel. So that's what this is based on, The Green Hat. And in the original story, yes, her husband David jumps out of the window, commits suicide, right?
okay.
And it is a scandal. Here it's implied that there's some kind of legal problem. That's all you know so far. There's this
Yeah.
implication that he's in trouble or there's some kind of legal problem that we don't know what it is, right? That's
Yeah.
what's implied so far. The original novel, he had syphilis. He had a sexual STD. He had a sexually transmitted disease that had driven him crazy. So there was no police officers in that scene. He basically had an attack of syphilitic mental illness. And in a moment of mental illness from the syphilis, he jumped out the window. That's the novel. So this guy was for all of his, presenting as a very honorable, idealistic guy. Don't drink, be good like me, right? He's a philanderer. He's a major philanderer who has gotten him a very dangerous STD that's affected his mind. That's the original book. So when the Hays Commission discovered that book was being made into a movie, they're like, nah, you can't do that. STDs, I don't know if any STD, you can't do that, right? Suicide, STD, all is too much. And so they're forced to create this ambiguous other situation, right? Which is very confusing and remains this mystery for much of the rest of the movie until it's kind of explained, right? But that's why this movie was hobbled, because that scene in the novel made the censors come after this film and watch every single moment and say, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't imply that, you can't say that.
Okay, that makes sense. Oh wow. I did not have a clue. Thank you so much for that information. That makes me look at this entire movie differently. She is distraught, even if she didn't love him. She
They were
cared about him.
friends.
Yeah,
They were friends, yeah.
she cared about him and had known him since childhood. And so she's not doing good. But guess who's there? Anakin Skywalker's there. It's Jeffrey, her brother, who is pissed that,
and he's furious because he blames her. He blames her for his friend or possible love fantasy. I mean, it's kind of, again, it's interesting that the director kind of lets this happen, right? Because it's this frustration against the censor. So we're going to imply this gay attraction, right?
Oh, you think that's what happened? Oh,
I think this is, I don't know if it's in the original novel, but it seems very much here. It's clearly a screw you to the censors, right? To at least visually, because they don't say or do anything. Usually they're just buddies. I'm like, I don't know. His feelings are beyond normal buddy. I don't know, but he's really enraged at the death of his idealized friend.
Yeah,
and he's blaming his sister.
Oh my God. So he is really, really out of control, angry. I mean, you could see he's really going through grief, but it seems like his anger is his top emotion. And I love the way they did the makeup for him in this. Like he comes in and of course they darken underneath his eyes. He's been probably crying and just distraught, probably just drinking all the time, probably relapsed. And so you're right. It is a little bit over the top, but all of his anger is directed to her, and that's how he's looking at her. And so she is trying to, I don't have a lot of cards here. It's just people asking her why, what happened. And she said he wanted to die, and he died for decency.
Okay. So now this is the example of them trying to desperately communicate to the audience that's familiar with this novel, right? That there is something indecent that's behind this issue. And the indecency of the original novel was an STD, right? Was that, right? But there's an implication here. They can't use that storyline.
Yeah.
And so all they can say is, something indecent has happened. She says it. And so it's left to imply that she has done something indecent.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And which, again, it's all around this, like, her masculine energy and her revelry. The implication to the audience is that she has been an unfaithful wife or has been a good time girl, like a floozy. That's the implication, right? And then he found out about it and he killed himself. At least that's the story. We know something else was going on because there's police officers there with handcuffs, right?
Yeah.
But that's the story she's telling the world. And so it's kind of falling on her own sword here, because the implication is because there's no one knows anything wrong about this guy.
Yes.
So the implication is she, who's got a reputation,
must have been.
Her reputation ended up doing him in.
Yeah. And that's kind of lingers on in the storyline.
And look at his reaction. So it's you. It's the decency. It's your fault. My sister, you are indecent. That's that's how they convey what they can't say aloud.
I mean, he's to the point where he's like sobbing in the corner. It was a incredible acting, I would say, on his part.
One of the reviewers said that at this time, he wasn't known to be a great actor like his parents were. And that this movie, the performance in this movie, solidified him to the public that he was a good actor.
Yeah,
and the director really brought it out of him.
Yes, I mean, I would agree. This is definitely. I just noticed him immediately in this movie, and so there he goes. He says, "Bravo, David! Bravo! You died for decency." There's a moment where, and I don't know if I caught it, but he looks at her and he says, "You," and you could feel the anger coming from him. He's really mad. He says, "Don't touch me. Your hands are covered with blood." And he leaves.
This is one of the gaps in the storytelling. John Gilbert is there. He's come back from Egypt. He's just kind of there in France. You don't even know how he's there, right? And so it's one of the things where the screenwriter's like, I got to deal with enough garbage. I'm not going to try to figure this out.
Yeah. He's just there. There's still this kind of like, he sees her. Of course, he wants to help. He wants to be there for her. The dad is there, but that is not going to happen. He was just about to tell a secret. And she stops him. And she says, "Remember your promise, Hugh. There are to be no more explanations. Please look after Jeffrey."
And again, now this is a setup that will be paid off much later. I even kind of forgot about this.
Me too. And then oh my God, this is very important because she's telling Hugh not to tell anybody about what actually happened. And as everybody's leaving.
By the way, now we think about it this way. It suddenly, in the original story, would make a lot more sense. This guy's a doctor. So he would have known the medical problem that caused that guy to jump out of the window. It's not really clear in this version of the story why he would know the secret. But in the original story, where he has an STD, then a doctor would know why he committed suicide.
Exactly. Oh, so good. Yes. The composition of this scene is excellent. We have Dad.
It's visually stunning. It's really well done visually. This director did a lot with a gun to his head.
Yes, and so he's influencing what's happening. Nevs wants to talk to her, wants to stay with her. He can't. He has to follow Dad. And this is another example, another moment, or fork in the road, if you will. She's a free woman. He could have married her at this point.
Yeah.
He made a decision to go with what his dad told him to do.
Because already she's now let everyone know it's a scandal of some kind, that it's her fault. The brother has said it. She's gone with it. So again, he seems to be concerned. I can't marry a woman tainted by scandal.
She leaves and then she returns. Miss Diana Furness returned to England this morning. Her first visit in 7 years. So 7 years has passed.
Yeah.
The reporter is going through a litany of pictures in their files of Diana's exploits. So she's met all these incredible men over the years, and they've been taking pictures for newspaper articles. And
she's been like in the gossip columns for years, right?
Yeah, like a socialite.
Yeah, she's a socialite, and they're all like, and there's a lot. There's like athletes, and then it ends with like some rich Arab prince, right? So
Yes.
which is scandalous in the 20s, right? That she's with a foreigner, even if it's a rich prince, right? And so
Yes.
this is how they convey that she's living a libertine lifestyle.
Yes, yes. And so it's quite scandalous for a lot of people because this is not the norm for women and behavior or at all. So this is she is definitely y- uh, doing her own thing. The newspaper reports among the arrivals at Victoria Station this morning was Miss David Furness, the former Diana Merrick. Mrs. Furness has been away from England 7 years following the suicide of her husband at Deauville. Uh, see, it's understood Miss Furness has returned to London to see her brother, Geoffrey Merrick, who is critically ill. And that is the main reason why she's here, to see her dying brother, who happens to hate her guts.
And and it's kind of implied that it's an alcoholic death, right? He's damaged his liver, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
And
Which is
there's
what he
a
predicted. He said we all die. Like my father died of alcohol poisoning, and so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so there's this I wouldn't say banquet, but a dinner with um the Holdernesses. Neville's fiance
Yeah, she's
is
fiance
there.
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. To lovely Constance, who honors the name of Holderness by consenting to become Neville's wife. That was said by Papa Holderness, and there she is. She's just so cute, and she's wearing a lovely dress, and she's very polite and pleasant and upbeat,
You
and
know who
all
she
those
reminds
like.
me of? She reminds me of Melanie from Gone with the Wind. As
Oh,
it
interesting.
that the character, that's the archetype, that's against sort of Scarlet, right? The virginal. It's it's the virgin whore, if I may use that phrase, but
Mhm.
that's the trope, right? And she's the virginal aspect of that pole, right?
Yeah.
The good, and her name Constance reflects that, like someone who is constant in their loyalty, kind of thing.
Yes, yes. She is exactly the kind of woman that Neville's dad wants him to marry,
Mhm.
and the sort of the upstanding girl that is of she doesn't have the same kind of money as Diana does, but she has the social equity, if you will, that people like her generally. And so he says, "Darling, darling, darling, only 3 more days. I'll probably disgrace myself by running down the aisle to meet you." This is what she says to Neville, because she's really in love with him. She really does care for him and love him. She's actually a real delight on screen too. Hugh is meeting with Diana. You're my only friend in England. Jeffrey is ill. He won't see me or let me help him. And so she knows the only way that she can affect or do anything with Jeffrey is through Hugh. Hugh is the only one that he'll actually talk to. And there's Constance.
Mhm.
And again, very happy demeanor. She says, as Hugh goes back to the dinner, says, "I have to leave. So sorry." And then they press him about who he's meeting, and he admits it's Diana and the reason why. And then I didn't put this in there, but the dad has the nerve to say, "Ugh, why, she's back in England." And I was
Mhm.
like, first of all, it's been 7 years, and this is her brother. He's dying. Like,
Well, yeah, the
have
dad's a real
some
jerk for most of this movie.
yeah, he's dying. Like, she's not supposed to see her dying brother. Also, she's was born and raised in England. Why can she not be where she's, hang out where she's from?
Yeah.
Because you don't like her. And so this was kind of like another, you see the intense bias that the father has against Diana. Constance hears about this, and she has been reading the papers. She's like, "Oh my god, I must see that fascinating woman. I've heard so much about her." And so they all run to the window to take a look and a glimpse at her. Then she says, "Tell me some of the gossips about her. It must be perfectly thrilling."
Mhm.
Because Diana is doing what a lot of women of her time dare to do.
Exactly,
She's
which is why it brings the opprobrium of like the censors, right?
yes,
But the idea is that she, and again, this is the 20s, so women were flexing their freedom muscles, but
yes.
again, this is an upper class British world where you couldn't really do that publicly.
Socially, it's not accepted. She's asking around, nobody's saying anything, but this one
And I
lady.
love this character, this woman that she talks to. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a little brash, but she says, "Dear Constance, one doesn't know Diana these days. She's déclassée, if you know what I mean." It's like, dang, I could just
A little bit
feel
of
all the
French.
sass coming out of her from this. She says, "Don't say that Neves was once in love with her."
So this was a startling thing for me. So he's been open and honest about his past, right? He hasn't hidden that from her. So that's not a storyline that because you would think, oh, he's hiding from her that he loved her. No, no, no. They were a thing, and Constance knows about it and is okay with that being in the past.
Exactly, that it's in the past. It's been 7 years. He's very affectionate with her too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's not warm and affectionate with her, which is causing her to maybe go like, "Oh, are you still in love with somebody else?" He's reciprocating all the feelings, and he may not say "I love you," but he definitely is giving her the attention she craves. Dad is like. Got something snotty to say. So then that was only a silly boy and girl attachment. Many men have loved her since then.
Ooh, okay.
So that is the rumor that not only is she taking pictures with these guys, she's also sleeping with them, which is rumor.
And he gets offended, like his father. Yeah. Shut up already. Why do you have to make it? Because Constance was keeping it at a high level. The father's now degraded the conversation.
Exactly. Yes. And so I love that you mentioned that Jeffrey is totally not doing very well, not taking care of himself and just drinking and drinking and drinking. And Diana is knocking at the door and he says, "I won't see Diana. I won't see her. I'll die first." She gets in the car, back in the car downstairs, and guess who's it has taken a cab over. It is Neville chasing after her. He didn't have to do that, but he did. And he can't help himself, I suppose. And when they get to his house, there's a lovely picture of Constance.
It's really glamorous. I love this photo.
Yes, I'm like, wow. I love the way she stops and looks at it, and she's like, "Wow, she is pretty." She's really getting into. She really likes Constance. She thinks she admires her, which is very nice. She's not playing, like, "Oh, how dare you!" Like, you would be better off with me. And this is a sentiment that comes back later. She says, "Her eyes are so true and clean. They frighten me."
Yeah. So this is again a way to get around the censors to say that true and clean, which means that she is a liar and unclean, right? That's a way for them to get around it without explaining why.
Yes, and probably even virtuous and virginal and all those things. We focus in on the rose ring, which I was kind of a little bit disappointed that we didn't get sort of a closure for the ring.
Well, it does appear again.
It does appear again.
Yeah, it again. But this is the first time it's really introduced, and it comes to symbolize sort of her own morality and whether she's willing to give up, whatever's left of her morality for love. And because it doesn't fit, and if it falls off her hand, it will represent her fallen grace. But if she keeps it, it represents whatever bit of her dignity she still has, right?
Yes, and so she says, I've been told that I'm like this ring, apt to fall. And you said it, fall from grace is literally what is happening every time the ring falls off her finger, right? But she manages to keep it on by massaging it back to where it should go.
Yeah, it sort of symbolizes her struggle to keep her morality, right?
I loved it, and I would have loved this somewhere around the beginning of the story.
Yeah, I mean, the introduction of this ring again. The screenplay has holes, and so is this her wedding ring? Is this her
We
wedding?
don't know. Like, it would have been really great if
Where
this
does it
was
come from? Is this a ring he gave her? Like, is it a ring that John Gilbert gave her, which is probably a better use of it?
yes.
But again, they're doing the best they can with these bureaucrats all hanging over them. So
Yes, I mean, it would have been really cool if he gave her the ring in place of an engagement ring, or
like a
something.
promise ring kind of thing or whatever.
Yes,
I'm
and
going
so
away to
it
Egypt. Here's my promise ring, whatever. So
yeah, yeah. So it just sort of shows up. I think he's a little bit mad at her because he knows about all the articles. He says, "Did you love those other men?" And she says, "Never. I have never said I love you to any man but you." But she also denies that she ever was actually with them. She says, and I don't have a card for it. She says she was faithful to only
yeah,
him.
but is it? I mean, I think she might mean emotionally faithful. I don't know. I don't think that. I think that some women see that as see that as faithfulness rather than the physical act. So
Yes. Okay. So then, they begin to kiss on the couch, and the
and the ring
ring
starts slipping off
slips.
because he's a married man. This is an
Yeah.
affair,
Yeah. And
or
so it slips all
he's
the
an
way off.
engaged man. He's not married. He's engaged, but
He's
it's betrayal.
engaged. Yeah. And this is her falling from grace yet again. Back at Jeffrey's place, he passes away. It's
He dies with
really,
eyes open. It's a very good death scene. You don't see it
yeah,
coming.
yeah. Yeah, you don't see it
He was
coming at
the
all.
doctor's just talking to him, and then suddenly he sees he's not blinking and not responding, and so yeah.
So he's gone, unfortunately. And yeah, well acted and well constructed there. And back at Neville's place,
By the way, this hat, I love this hat. I feel like I've
right?
seen this hat a few times in movies, but it really is symbolic of her in this movie.
I think if this is a hat I would wear right now.
And she was the queen of. I mean, she was the queen of creating new fashion trends. It's hats really cool.
Yes. Now, I love this composition here because what is standing between the two of them this time is not the father, but is Constance. And there's a picture of Constance. He's ready. He's like, okay, well, let's just, stay together. In fact, this is another time in which we see a lot of mounts moving, but no cards.
There's a lot of stuff being said that we don't know what it's about.
Yes. And so I'm like, okay, I'm assuming that he's saying, let's get there. And she points directly to the, if the first picture didn't like nail it for you here, there we go. It's right there in your face. And so she leaves and he's there with the picture and alone. I not only poetically, visually stunning, great storytelling, didn't need any cards, but it just also was another moment where at this time she makes the decision because she sees that Constant is a better woman for him. Or she feels like he's a better woman for him. She sees that in her. So she's making a decision for Neville at this point, not for herself. And I believe it was like a year later, they're already married. She says, and I just realized that it's been 3 months. We'll be married a whole year. There we go.
It's about 9 months later, yeah.
They start playing with each other. It's so cute. I was like, oh, wow,
this is clearly an affectionate relationship, right?
Yes.
Greta Garbo may still have a part of his heart, but he's present in this marriage.
Yes, he really is, and they really enjoy spending time together. And he gets a note, and that changes the mood drastically. I mean, there's like a playful moment where she's trying to grab the note, and he's like, "No." It's really cute.
Then it gets very somber when he reads the note.
Yes, and so Diana is seriously ill at St. Mary's nursing home, constantly calls for you in delirium, as her physician feel it's imperative for her to see you. Only chance of saving her life. And this is from Hugh. She's in Paris at this moment. Constance tries to comfort him as much as possible. She says, Miss Furness is an old friend. I think you ought to go.
Yeah. And so, I mean, again, that's being very noble of her because she knows that there's obviously still unresolved feelings between both of them. So yeah,
He says, "Will you come with me, Constance?"
which shows he's still invested in her as well. So
Yes,
so
it was a good move on his part
Mhm.
to do that, I feel. So they go to this nursing home, and she is a hot mess, but Hugh is looking after her. She doesn't recognize him, it seems, at all. Hugh says the only thing that can save her is knowing that someone for whom she cares wants her to live. He's just taken aback because he says, Diana always seems so alive, so vital. How could she give up? Like, it's easy. She doesn't believe in love anymore.
Yeah.
But her calling to him was sort of like, you got to let him go. If you're going to let him go, let him truly go.
Well,
But
have you ever read the original novel Gone with the Wind?
no, no.
So it's not in the movie, but one of the sort of poignant things in there is that we discover that Scarlett's mother, who Scarlett O'Hara idolizes her mother, who is very much appears like a Constance figure. Like she's the opposite of Scarlett. She's this dutiful wife who's committed to her husband and family. And Scarlett wants to be like her mother, but is just too much of a proud, sassy girl to be that. But she idolizes her mother, right?
Yes.
And what we discover in the book, which Scarlett doesn't actually know, is that her mother had a tempestuous affair before she married Scarlett's father, who was sort of this Irishman, right? She had a tempestuous affair with this young playboy cousin of hers, and that guy got himself killed in like a gambling argument, right? In like a card game, and
Wow.
and so she was going to marry him, and then heartbroken, she just marries whoever's the first guy that asks her, who was Scarlett's father. So the reality is, she's more like Scarlett than Scarlett realizes. And the reason I say that in the novel, when her mother dies, there's a scene where as she's dying, and Scarlett doesn't understand this because she was told as your mother died, because she arrives after her mother dies, very heartbroken when she gets back. It's the middle of the Civil War. She finds her mother dead. And then one of the servants tells her that her mother said Pierre or some name. It was the name of the man that she loved like 20 years ago.
Man.
And it came out as she was dying. She screamed it out as she was dying. And Scarlett doesn't know who that is. And she never finds out in the book. And the character Mammy, right? The character Mammy is the only one who knows. She just keeps silent because she knows the secret that the mother loved this other man and not the man she married, but that in a moment of death, she screamed out his name as she died.
Oh, right? My God.
Scarlett's like, who's that guy? And that's a brilliant writing of the book. Scarlett has no idea. Look, who's that guy? Why is my mother talking about some guy? And she never finds out in the book, right? But we know that, and so that's the thing is it's kind of like that in here where as she's approaching death, she's calling out for the one man she loves.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow.
I think in the human condition, as people face these moments, they like soldiers throughout history, going back to ancient times, when they're dying on the battlefield, big, brawny men, they cry out for their mothers. That's recorded. And I think it's very sad, but it's true. And then, I think it's not uncommon to have people as they're passing away, talk about someone they love.
Yeah. Okay. I'm in there. We're in the psychology of it.
Yeah. Well, I speak as a former romantic, as someone who delved deeply into these feelings once. I understand it.
Yes. And so he comes out of the room trying to assess what's going on. It's really sad because she didn't recognize him. It's got to hit you in your gut. Somebody you used to love. Or probably still love, is actually looking like they're going to die any moment, and doesn't recognize you, and they're almost gone before they're gone, really. So he comes out devastated. She hasn't stirred. I can't make her recognize me. And then she comes out and she's a hot mess. They have extra like white makeup on her to make her look sick. And she's just delirious. And the only thing that she seems to recognize are the roses. So
again, this is an example of where we would needed a setup. We should have had, because we don't know what these ropers represent. And it just feels like this was either edited out or a stumble on the screenwriter's part.
Exactly. And so we have the rose ring, we have the roses, but what does it mean? And so that was sort of the strange moment for me. It where I was like, okay, something is missing
Yeah,
in
it
the
is. It's a
story.
payoff without a setup. So,
Yes, yes, yes. And so she's, of course, this moment only, I mean, to see it in play out in actually in the flesh is really great because it starts out with her looking delirious and then she finds this solace in these roses. It's so beautiful to see. And then she notices somebody in the corner. It's Neville, and she runs
and they
over to
actually did a
him.
really nice camera thing where he's completely blurred out, like she can't see him. As he said, he didn't recognize him, and then he fades. Then he fades into focus.
Oh, so good. And she runs over and just, no, my dreams are answered. I will get well now if you don't leave me. And you know what he says? Of course, I won't leave you.
While
In
his
front
wife is standing right there.
of no.
Well, I
And
mean,
his
one would
wife.
think that he thinks she's gonna die, so he's gotta say the right words, even
Yes,
knowing his wife is
yes.
there, she'll understand, right? That
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
just saying what she needs to hear.
yeah. And she understands the situation.
Mhm.
And so she turns around and she realizes, oh, they're not alone. And there's
And this is
and
the first time these two actually meet.
yes, yeah. And what I loved about it was that Constance wasn't like mad or anything. She was just like looking very pleasantly
Well, and
at
the actress,
her.
look at her. She's got actual tears in her eyes. It's a really good actress, right?
Yes,
He really
welling. It's the
empathizes with her.
welling up, and you could see this isn't a very dramatic moment. Even when he says, "Of course, I won't leave you," you could see that she's distraught, but she's not angry. She says, I know those eyes, true, clean eyes. You're Constance." And so there's the clean eyes again. She admires her so much. She really does. And I think of all things, I don't think she wants to come between this relationship. That's the one thing
Mhm.
that when she sees Constance, there is sort of this like, you know, she wants to protect her in a way from dealing with like having to
Mhm.
lose her man. Of course, Hugh is so sweet. He puts he's crying throughout this whole process, which is really sweet. And so there we have the shit handshake again. This is the second handshake.
Well, this
That's
is again
great.
it's her creating distance now instead of that big
Yes,
intimate hug, right? She knows the wife
yes,
is there, so
yes. And so what I think would have been really good, this is me being a writer, was that after he pulled her hand away, but this is her holding on to herself. So I was gonna say that maybe he should have the rose ring, but then I was like, no, she's still trying to hold on to who she
and you see
is.
the ring almost slips off and she pushes it back on.
She
That
pushes it
tells
back
us
up.
she's
Yeah.
getting her morality back or whatever. So
Yeah, she has to have the ring at this point. And so she turns around and they try to, they move on. You can see here this has created a little distance between this couple.
yes,
Just a
look at
little.
beautiful composition, beautiful
Yeah.
photographic shot there. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, and then there she is, asleep with her roses, hopefully, and her ring is firmly placed where it should be. And so back at home in London, Neville is drinking a heck of a lot. Dad is noticing. He says, "You've been drinking far too much lately." And he's like, "What's the different? What difference does it make? What difference does anything make?" He's really lost hope. Poor Constance is like, I don't know what to do at this point. This is, really crazy. There's a big poof to do, and I didn't catch every single thing because they start talking about what happened in Paris.
Yeah.
And Dad wants to know what happened in Paris, but he's
Well, John
Constance
Gilbert's
says,
character presumes that she already told him, right? His wife
yes,
already told him, and she's kind of accusatory.
yeah,
And then he's shocked to discover that she didn't, that she
yeah,
kept their secret because she wants to keep some privacy in their marriage from the
yeah,
father and wants to preserve his dignity in front of his father. So that
yeah,
really shames him, and he kind of walks out, like
yeah.
feeling like really small that his beautiful virginal wife, that he projected that onto her.
And she's done nothing but support him. Yeah, so she's distressed, and the dad is trying to keep her company.
this was a teeny weeny bit creepy. That whole dad, he was a little too close for a father-in-law. I was like, you know what? Let's take a step back, man. Take a little step back. It's just not. It's not. I was like, just a little bit like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I got weirded out by this.
Another thing that she says in this scene, which I didn't capture, was that she did say they can't help the way they are behaving because they love each other. They still do. They never did stop loving each other. And
now, this may seem like an unbelievable. In some ways, you could say this seems like an unbelievable character, right? Because there's a woman watching her husband be in love with another woman and still tolerating it, even though it's obviously hurting her, right?
Yes.
And it's not completely unbelievable. You know that I've been working on this young Marilyn Monroe movie, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so it really focuses about her marriage with her first husband, Jim Dougherty, right? Who she left to go become an actress, right? And he married 2 more times. His second wife, with whom he had 3 children, hated Marilyn Monroe, was deeply jealous of her because she felt like it was a shadow on their marriage, that as they're getting married, this ex-wife now becomes the biggest movie star in the world and the most desired woman. And so everyone's like, oh, does your husband really love you, or is he still in love with this figure, right? And she can't escape her because she becomes Marilyn Monroe, right? And so this ends up 10 years after Marilyn Monroe's death, it ends up breaking up their marriage. Like basically, she waited until their children had gone to school, were adults, and then she said, I'm out. I can't take this. It's too much, right? And she left. But Jim Dougherty marries a 3rd time. He marries a woman who is actually a huge Marilyn Monroe fan. And so what's amazing is that Rita, his 3rd wife, supports him in his love for Norma Jean. So she tells him to go write a memoir about it. She tells him to start, because he was not taking interviews, go take interviews with the journal. And so she supports him for they remain married for another 30 years. And she's constantly there saying, you should own the fact that this was your first love. Right.
Yes.
And people find that remarkable, that this woman was like, yeah, you should own the fact that you love this woman. You're with me now. Right.
Yeah.
But it's part of who you are. And I love that woman too. So it's not impossible. It's rare.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that she's actually like clear-headed about a lot of things, Constance, especially, she knows that they can't help what they're doing because of the deep love that they have each other. These guys grew up together. So there's a a relationship there that no one could tap into or disrupt because of that long history of love, even still since they were kids. We find out that Diana is hanging out at Hugh's house. He's taking care of her for, who knows how long, but it's a secret no one knows. She says, you were dear to me to bring me back, Hugh. So good to be in England again. Who knocks on the door? It's Neville.
Yeah, Neville shows up.
And he demands. He's like, "I'm going mad. I'm rotten to Constance, to everyone." So he's not doing well. He said, "You should have thought about this 10 years ago when you gave up Diana for your father's honor." And he is absolutely right.
Yeah.
But it also brings this up. My father was right, wasn't he? She's everything he said she would be.
Which we never heard. he said a lot, and we never heard any of it.
Yes. So there we have this like mysterious bad stuff that she, she's accused of, and we didn't get that in the movie. But if you just say she's a bad person, and because she's wild and she's been, seen with a whole bunch of men and all that stuff, fine. But the reason why she's doing all of that is because she's trying to escape the love, the pain of losing him, escape the pain of not having the true man that she wanted to be with. And they had their opportunity, and he went to Egypt. The only reason why his father's prediction was correct was because he pushed her towards that life,
I suddenly realized something, Retro. This movie is essentially what would have happened if Romeo chickened out. Because you got the Capulets and Montagues, whatever, and Romeo just like, yeah, I'm out. I'm gonna go do whatever my dad wants, right? And then Juliet goes off and becomes like the Trounce trumpet, right?
Yes.
That's what this movie is.
You're so right. He says that she's killing me as surely as she killed David.
Yes. So again, now we reference this guy again,
Yeah.
implying that she did something scandalous that killed him or made him commit suicide
Yes.
out of
Yes.
shame.
Yes. So it's like, okay, so as the first time watcher, I was like, okay, this is weird. Why are we bringing this up again?
Yeah.
Well, we're
Again,
bringing
because
this.
we're not allowed to talk about it, so we have to try to. Like, why is this happening?
Yes, I mean, so it's just crazy. So that's when Hugh just spills the beans. He's not supposed to. So he says, "I'm sick of this David Furness mess. Diana ruined her life to keep his name clean." We're using that word "clean" again to save Jeffrey's ideal. And when you say clean, now with the context of what you're saying, syphilis,
Yeah.
and like that's probably what the clean, and we've been hearing this word clean, like free of diseases and sexual transmission.
It was a scandalous disease, right? It
Yeah,
was a scandalous disease. You're getting it from not just what's happening is you're getting syphilis not just from having discreet affairs with upper class ladies. You are mixing it with the lower classes. You're meeting up with ladies of the night. That's how you get syphilis, right? So it's very bad for British social standing of this time.
Yes. Oh, so interesting. I mean,
but again, I'm watching. It was like, so what did he do?
Yes, what did he do?
We still don't know. Right?
And so she upstairs, which I could not really get a good picture of it. She's pacing back and forth, and of course,
I love this dress. I mean, we don't, it's kind of hidden by the shadows of the scene, but it's very beautiful.
It's so flowy, like chiffon. It is gorgeous.
Like it's just again, this is Greta Garbo fashion, right?
And she's like pacing back and forth, so you see her legs, and it's a little.
They actually cut too close of her legs. They want you to see her legs. Like, I just want to remind you.
it's a little sexy. You see her going through emotional paces of anguish and anxiety is really the word I would pick for that. Neville shows up.
Neville, yes. I keep thinking just John Gilbert, right? Because in many ways, look, these two are a couple by now. I mean, in real life, these two are a couple. So, and so I'm sure they're having dramatic stuff in their private lives as well. So I just think of it as John and Greta. But yes. But the characters actually have names, right?
Yeah. So
Diana and Neville. So yes.
Yeah, so Neville walks into the room while she's pacing. He says, "I've listened to others too long. Now I'm going to think of our happiness."
So now we get this note from his father.
Yes. So they're planning on eloping, I suppose. But she gets a note from his father.
There's no divorce, so they're just basically running off into the night.
Running off, running off together. And Neville has told me that you and he are leaving tomorrow for South America. I'm appealing to the gallant gentleman. There we have the word gallant.
Call back to the opening of the movie, the gallant gentleman.
Yeah. And Diana Merrick, I once knew, to come to Stritton Marl this evening and talk things over.
And when did you ever know her? You've been saying bad stuff about her from the beginning. You never indicated you saw her as gallant in any way.
Yes, and also, again, we have the masculine term gentleman, and it's very there's a formality to it, and then there's also this sense of honor. She shows up and by the way, this whole scene of her walking in was very well done cinematically. And she says, "I've come, Morton, because you asked me, but nothing you can say will change me this time." And he says, "Diana, I've always thought of you as having a gentleman's honor," which he was right that she was gonna, that's her style. "Once I sacrificed to what you call honor, and bitter unhappiness came of it for Neville, for Constance, and myself." So true.
And then Neville shows up. Yeah. I'm done. He's like, finally stands up to his dad moment. Yeah.
Finally. And also Constance is in the room as well, who's crying. Hugh is trying to keep her, console her. "I'll tell you what your saintly David was. He was a thief." And
so now we're beginning to get some information about what David, because we remember there was police officers there. So something happened. So apparently he stole. So now we're finally, in the last 5 minutes of the movie, we're getting some information of what happened.
I know look, blink once and you would have missed it. It was like, what? I had to like rewind this a couple of times to get it. It turns out he'd been embezzling for months. He had taken thousands. From where and why and what? Like, so he killed himself because he was going to prison. Diana paid his thefts and kept his name clean. That's decent.
Okay, so that's the Hays Code story they want told, that he essentially stole from his business or whatever, and that she made the people he stole from whole, and he killed himself for that reason. When they say that's decency, well, that wasn't what they were talking about. The point of this movie is trying to say is that we all know that's not the issue, because no one was thinking that she committed financial fraud when they thought she was indecent. That's not what decency means in this culture and time, right?
Yes.
It's not financial probity, right? But that's the best a screenwriter can do when literally this whole movie has been hobbled because of this thing.
Yes, I mean, so the hidden meetings are there, but they're you'd have to know the background story, like what you were saying, what you
but again, the
told
book
us.
was popular, and that's why I'm sure the audience was a little startled. They're like, "Oh, where are we going with this?"
Yeah. And just to think, like, a lot of times people will say people with sexual diseases are unclean, and so then we get this word clean all through the story. Randomly, she's at a table and she picks up a card.
We don't see what this card is yet, so we don't yet.
Yeah, we don't see what the card is yet. And I'm not sure if I do get a picture of it, but
well, it is at the end. We do see it at the end.
So Dad says, I want to take your hand. You are good.
So now she lives up to his idea of moral behavior, because she sacrificed her reputation and made right what her husband did wrong, and then allowed herself to be the villain of the story.
I don't have a picture of it, but that was not what she did not want that out and released.
And there's actually a great line she says in there where she's angry at Neville, because she says, "You took away from me the one decent thing I've done," which is the self-sacrifice of hiding. And in many religions, the idea is that when you do charity, the best charity is hidden charity that nobody finds out about, so your ego isn't built up and you're doing it without praise. So this is the kind of thing. It's a self-sacrifice of her thing. Actually, in Islam, in the Sufi mystical tradition, we have a specific term for this. It's called malamat. Malamat means the path of blame, where you intentionally let people think poorly of you, so that your ego doesn't go high, even if it's like specifically falsely, like let them believe bad things about you. Like that's an actual spiritual path in Sufism, where you let people, if you hear gossip about you that's not true, you don't correct it. You let people believe it, because that will keep your ego humble. And that's a spiritual sacrifice to God. And she's saying, you cheapened my spiritual sacrifice to God by revealing it.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Oh my God. He's saying goodbye to Constance, and this strikes something very interesting in Diana.
And Constance is letting him go. She's like, "I want you two to be happy."
So Holderness says, "You're good, and I want to take your hand." And she says, "No, Morton, I am myself. It is Constance who is good. Constance is good." It's kind of like her last face-off with this guy, and she gives a shake. I
love her eyes. She's saying a farewell shake, but the dislike in her eyes is so clear.
Yes, and that is, again, the gentleman's shake does it again with, of course, intense eye contact. That is supposed to be the way to do the proper handshake. She leaves, and Neville follows behind her, but then he comes back, and that's also
we see that they something happened off screen between those.
Yes, which is, it's like almost like a missing clip. But it was a nice surprise to see him come back, and he's not leaving. Diana told me your secret. Now, what is that? What secret?
I actually looked it up. Again, this is the Hays Code. They couldn't say it. The secret is Diana claimed that Constance is pregnant, but they couldn't say you're having a baby, because that would violate the moral codes. And so they literally, I was like, "What's going on here? What's the secret?" Right? I mean, it reached that level of censorship silliness where they couldn't even say she was with child.
Oh, that is so brilliant. Thank you for finding that out. Oh my goodness.
I had to do research to make sense of this film.
And okay, so I'm going
Let's go
ahead.
back a little. Let's see. Yeah.
So after this, basically what happens is that they hear some commotion.
Yeah,
There's
basically they
this,
see that Diana has raced off like the opening scene of the movie, very
yes,
recklessly racing through in the night in her car, and they're
yes.
worried for her, so they chase after her.
They chase after her. She has gotten into a fatal car accident,
And she's hit that tree that
and
was,
she's hit.
that tree
They're
that was all symbolic of everything, and
yes,
and she's dead. She's dead. You don't see her. You don't see her again. You see them holding up her hand. You don't see her full
yes,
body. Yeah.
yes. And there's her hand, and there's the card that's in her hand. It's the Ace of Spade.
So I'm not sure what the symbolism of that. I guess Ace of Spades is the power card, and it's like the winner card, I guess.
Yes.
So maybe it says that ultimately she won by her final self-sacrifice to let these people.
You could say that, or she made a master move. Like it's the last chess move that you can make. It's the power move that ends the game. Father, Sir Holderness, kisses her hand.
Yeah.
Which is, I was like, oh, okay. I guess. I mean, whatever was really cleared up, he really has newfound respect for her on a different level by kissing her hand. And so that was the end of the story.
And this movie ended up being a blockbuster. Despite the fact that it's been hobbled by the censors and some of the story doesn't make sense, it ended up making a lot of money. It made $500,000 almost in profit at the time, which is 1920s. We're talking that's equivalent to probably $50 million or whatever. I mean, it's a lot of money, right? So it made a huge amount of profit, and it was massively popular. Yeah, I think I was reading one of these things. It was considered one of the top 20 films of the year.
Yeah. Oh man.
And it's a flawed movie. It's certainly not the best of any of the movies we've seen of her.
No, but there's a dynamic flavor to it that's really good. Like it is lots of drama. We're talking about lovers, and then there's marriage. There's so many things going on that you can find something in this to enjoy.
Yeah,
I think that's maybe part of it, and of course, John Gilbert and Garbo together in this movie is like it just lights up the screen. We got the young lady playing Constance just being really charismatic on screen, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. These guys are probably looking at them and saying, "Oh, they're the next wave of Hollywood and filmmaking." The amount of editing, and cinematic moments in this movie are incredible.
What saves this movie, because the script has been directly attacked by censors, so it's made it a difficult script. But what saves this movie is really the director, because the comments are, I was reading that there was one of the reviews were saying that this Douglas Fairbanks Jr. had essentially been a mediocre actor prior to this film. And at one of the contemporary reviews of a magazine was, this is the first time we're seeing what he can do. And they credit the director for this, right? Yes. They say it was the director. And we look at the acting is incredible in this film. The director was Clarence Brown. And the acting, and we've constantly talked about the visuals, the editing, the composition, the lighting, so this director saved and made a hugely successful movie out of something that should have failed, considering the amount of pressure that was being put on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. And one thing I would like to say too about these movies, especially definitely the silent film movies, we're creating new techniques as we're watching them on screen. Like that, they were as they were making these films, they were actually creating new techniques all along and developing new ways to tell the visual storytelling for Hollywood. And it's just amazing to see that. By the way, the music, can we just incredible.
It was actually scored specifically for this film. I was reading that the music had been specifically scored for this film, and it was very well received.
Every emotion that that actors are presenting on screen, playfulness, anxiety, everything, beautifully orchestrated throughout the entire film. And so there isn't a moment where you don't feel like the music has just kind of faded into nothingness. It's there present, it's part of the performance. And I was very, very, I mean, we don't even do that now these days. Sometimes there's like absolute silence, or there's like, but they kept it all throughout, especially the playful moments, the beautiful, like playful instruments that they used for those playful moments really helped to give this movie some texture. And so when you're watching this movie, it is not just like, oh, a simple story. There is like depth and level, even though we don't know everything behind the story, the deeper layers. We're watching something great.
Yeah, and that's why it survived. I was actually looking at some of the comments on the YouTube video that I saw this on, right?
Okay,
and some people were saying this is my favorite silent film. Which again, I mean, that's an interesting thing because of the challenges they had with the storytelling. That some of the people today in the 21st century, almost 100 years later, right? We're looking at 98 years later, are saying this is my favorite silent film. So obviously, there's a magic to it, you know, despite all of the challenges it faced.
Yes, I would agree, and I'd be, you know, interested in watching it a few more times because it really was that good. And especially now knowing, and thank you so much for doing the research on this, because that really fills in all of the questions I had about this movie. And
well, you know, part of the reason I discovered is, so we talked about that cool hat that's very symbolic of God. Well, remember the original novel was called The Green Hat, and I saw there's a cover. If you type in Green Hat novel on Wikipedia, you'll see the original cover art has essentially that hat. That the movies that they wanted that's I mean, granted it's black and white, we don't see the color of it, but that hat she's wearing is on the original cover of that novel, right? And so that's what it's called. And the novel came out in 24, so it's about 4 years before this movie, right? So the costume designer based it on the novel.
Oh wow, that is so cool. Thank you for that research. That's really cool. So just to let everybody know that you can reach Kamran Pacha at his Patreon. You can get a link for it down in the description. Anything else you want to tell or want to say before we close out?
No, I mean, I think what I really hope, and people have been watching this series on your channel, I really hope people are getting inspired by this to go back and watch more silent films. A lot of them are available, you know, right on YouTube, you know, they're public domain, and they are works of art. They are works of art. They're the works of art that are the foundational to cinematic culture. You know, like I said, we talked about there's compositional things we see in this movie, quite possibly the first time we've ever seen them done, right? Certain choices that are being done here that someone's like, let's try this, and that becomes the staple for how stories are told for the next 100 years. And so these movies are really pioneering. They're magical. You know, the acting is just absolutely stunning. These movies cannot work if the actors don't emote with just their faces, right? So the level of craft of acting, that's what saved this movie, is this incredible acting, because you're like, I don't really know what's going on, but I'm going with these actors.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Well said. And we are going to see you in the next
the next movie she made is this. It's called Wild Orchids in 1929. Let's see if that's available. I mean, if that's available. Yeah, it's available. It's available on YouTube online. So maybe we can do the next review is Wild Orchids.
Wild Orchids will be next. So stay tuned for our incredible talks that we're having of Greta Garbo movies. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up. Share the video. Make sure you're subscribed for my next upload or live. And YouTube is so nice that they're going to suggest a video for you to watch. Please give it a watch. And remember to stay retro and stay nerdy. Bye.